Hello, everybody. I'm Elena Bain, your medium psychic, and welcome to my channel. And today's topic is, how do you know which deck of tarot cards to buy, and what do you do with them before you even start any readings? So that's the topic for today. But before I get started, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button at the bottom. It really helps out my channel, and I really appreciate it. So here we go. So you go to a Indigo, you go to a bookstore, you go to a spiritual store, and they will always have a wide range of tarot cards for you to purchase if you want to. Now, these are all my decks that I have collected over the years. Now, I'm almost 45 years old, and I probably started collecting tarot cards in my early 20s when my best friend Carmen and I started playing with them. So I have many decks that are probably, close to over 20 years old, and I don't really so much play with them anymore. But anyways, I still have them, and I can always go to them when I want to. So you go to a store and you see a bunch of tarot cards. How do you know which ones to buy? Which ones are right? Which ones are for you? Well, there's no right or wrong answer for that. You get the deck that calls you. So you'll see your row of cards and you'll instantly see some like, no, I don't like that one. I don't like the design of that one. I don't like the box of that one. And are you being judgmental? 100%, but this is your preference, right? It's your selection. And what you'll find is as you scan the row, you'll always go back to a particular one. And then you'll pick up a few other ones. And you'll read the backing and you'll look at the illustrations. Then you put it back on the shelf. But then you'll always seem to go back to this one. And you'll pick it up. You'll look at the illustrations. You read the backing and you'll put it back down. And then you'll go to a few other ones. But you'll always go back to that one. That's the one you buy. The one that keeps calling you, the one that sparks your curiosity, the one that makes you interested in it. That's the one you buy. So some decks I'll see and I'll be like, no, I don't like the design. I don't buy them. In my collection here, I have a lot of Doreen Virtue cards and Colette Baron Reid cards. I tend to gravitate more towards their cards because I like the design. I like the illustration on the cards and I like the description of the cards. But that's just my preference. It doesn't mean you have to. It's just buy the deck that seems to call you back towards it. So you buy this tarot deck card, you come home and you're eager to open them up and start a reading. Stop. You can't do that yet. The very first thing you have to do is you have to clear your cards, because this deck has been sitting on that shelf in that bookstore or spiritual store for who knows how long. And you know how much energy it's collected? Everyone who's touched it has put their energy on it. So you want to clear that energy off of it, off this deck, before you even start any readings. So how do you do that? There's a few ways you can clear your deck. Number one, if you know there's going to be a full moon that evening, put your deck on the windowsill in the full moon. That will clear your deck. Let's say if a full moon is not happening. How do you clear your deck? You can very simple. Knock on the deck 3 times with your left hand. You can ring a bell over it. You could put a stone on it, a crystal on it to clear the deck. You could sage the deck if you want, and I'll clear the deck. So after every single reading I do, I always knock on it because I want to wipe that person's energy off of this deck and I want to start fresh and new every single time. So you have to clear your decks before you start reading the deck, because who knows energy you're actually reading. You might not even be reading your energy. You'd be reading somebody who just touched this deck earlier that day. So clear your decks. Very first important. Otherwise, you'll skew your readings. So once you're done clearing it, what do you do with it? So every deck should come with a book. I highly, highly encourage you to read the book, because the author and the illustrator of this deck has created this deck for a particular reason. And they want you to read it to enhance that reason. So read the booklet it comes with. So in the beginning, it'll give you instructions on how to read these tarot cards, possible tarot card spreads. And I'm going to do another video on the most popular tarot card spreads that you can do with any tarot card deck. But read the instructions, because some tarot card decks, if you flip a card and the picture's upside down, that is a protection meaning. So you're supposed to read the protection meaning for it, or the meaning is opposite to what it actually is supposed to be. However, some decks don't don't care if your card is flipped upside down or not. So you need to get clear on that, because everyone says, oh, if it flips up upside down, it means the complete opposite. Not necessarily. Like, for instance, messages for angels, it doesn't matter if the card gets flipped upside down. In this particular deck, it doesn't make a difference. And it says that in the book. The author is very clear on that. So always read the book. Now, usually in every single book of a tarot card deck, it always has a little prayer for you to say, because when you get into tarots, you have to understand something. You are getting into the spiritual realm. You are inviting energies into your home, into your office, wherever you're doing these tarots, right? This is not something you should take lightly. And you should always put a protective white light around you, and you should say a little prayer. And usually there's always a prayer given in these decks. I mean, this is not toys. So do I let my kids play with my decks? 100% no. And they're teenage girls, and no, they can't touch my decks. Now, some people say that nobody should touch your cards or do their own tarot card reading with your decks. They can. Sometimes when I do a tarot card reading, I let the client actually pick their cards. If I feel a need, like, you know what? You're going to pick your cards. I'm not going to pick them. You're going to pick them. So you understand every card that was selected, you chose it for a reason. So now I'm having that client's energy on these cards. That's why it's very important to clear them after every single reading, especially if you let somebody else touch your cards. Now, so you bought a deck, you've cleared it, you've read the book. What do? Do you go right into a tarot card reading? No, not yet. You got to do one more thing. So you got to get familiar with the deck, okay? So for instance, this deck, Messages from Your Angels by Doreen Virtue, there's 44 cards in here. Actually, I'm really drawn to this deck lately. Lately, I've been using this deck and what other deck? This deck. This is a Colette Baron Reed deck, Wisdom of Avalon, lately for my tarot card readings on individual. They just called out to me that these are the two I need to work with, and that's what I've been working with. Actually, probably for the last 8 months, it's been these two dominant ones. So this deck has 44 cards. What do I got to do with them? You need to physically touch every single card. So grab a card, read what it says. So this is Athena. Put it to your heart and just feel a connection with it. And you got to do that with every single card. Remember, this is your deck. These are your cards. If you're going to give yourself a tarot card reading, you have to have a connection with these cards. And you got to invite your energy into these cards. So these cards tell you the best outcome that possibly to your question that it is you're trying to find out. So get connected with your cards, play with your cards, really touch them, feel them, read what each of them are about. Are you going to memorize what all 44 cards are? No. Where you get good with your deck is the more you play with them and the more repetition you see the same card, you understand the meaning more. And the more you understand, then the more, when you see a card in sequence, you can actually see the whole pattern. And you're like, and that's where like the magic comes. You're like, oh my goodness, this is so what's happening in my life right now. And you could just see the pattern, the transition. But you get that when you get very familiar with your cards. So just to give you an overview, you buy the deck that calls your name, that gets you curious, that you're interested in it. You buy the deck, you go home. You clear the cards. However, some spiritual centers will actually clear your deck at the point of purchase. They'll have a sound bowl. They put it in and they make that sound bowl sound, and it's a really annoying sound. That clears your deck. So if they do that for you, then you do not have to clear your deck. Most stores do not do that. So you have to clear your deck. Once you clear your deck, please read the book that it comes with. The author has a particular way that they want you to read this deck. And they want you to get the best out of it, this deck. So you have to read the book. Please put a white light around you before any tarot card reading. Touch every single card. Get familiarized with it. Make these personal. These are your tarot cards. It's not something lightly, or it's not a joke, and it's not a toy. These are your cards. So treat them with respect and love. And then have fun doing your spreads. Take care. I'm Elena Bay, and we'll talk to you soon.